Hi, this is Patty Katie, and I am going to do an example advertisement analysis presentation for my English 101 class. So hopefully this will give you a good idea of what I'm looking for when it comes to your presentation of recent Super Bowl advertisements. All right? All right. And I apologize for my voice. I've been sick, so I'm sorry. Okay, here it goes. Hi, my name is Patty Katie, and I am going to do an advertisement analysis for the Carnival Corporation's recent Super Bowl ad called Return to the Sea. Now, before I can break down an advertisement, you need to understand and see what the advertisement is. So here is the most recent 1-minute commercial.
I really don't know why it is that all of us are so committed to the sea, except I think it's because, in addition to the fact that the sea changes, and the light changes, and ships change, it's because we all came from the sea. And it is an interesting biological fact that all of us have in our veins the exact same percentage of salt in our blood that exists in the ocean. And therefore, we have salt in our blood, in our sweat, in our tears. We are tied to the ocean. And when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or to watch it, we are going back from whence we came.
Okay, so this advertisement is a little bit not really your typical supervisor or Super Bowl ad. It's a little bit more highbrow and sophisticated. Typically, when you think of Super Bowl advertisements, you think of like GoDaddy advertisements or Carl's Jr. sexy advertisements. So Carnival brought something new to the conversation. In order to understand the advertisement, there's a variety of ways you can approach it. And so one of the first ways I looked at it was storyboarding it. I looked at where the images coincided with the words that were spoken. And the first thing I noticed is that the question was thrown out, why do we commit to the sea? And so Carnival purposely started their advertisement with just an open picture of the sea. No people are in it, no boats. It's just this idea of ocean and this endless potential. Then they say the fact that the sea changes, light changes, and the ships change. So it's interesting that it has this recurring pattern of change. The fact that the sea changes, so you have icebergs, you have water, you have mountains and snow, so different types of precipitation. Light coincides with the northern lights, the aurora borealis, and ships changing. So you have this older looking ship, maybe not the most modern looking ship. But what's also interesting is that everything is looking to the left. Ships are pointing to the left, they're moving to the left. Everything is looking off to the left. And in Western society, that means you're looking backwards. You're looking to the past. You're looking to what's come before. And in this advertisement, after they talk about sea changes, light changing, ships changing, there's a huge shift visually in the advertisement. Everything starts looking to the right. You start looking forward. You start looking to the future. So when you see a little girl walking on the beach with her dad looking, and it is interesting to talk about this biological fact. So this father-daughter, share this biology, they share this DNA. And so the fact that they share this DNA coincides with the speech that's occurring. There's also this idea that all of us, so a group shot, have same percentage of salt in our blood as there is in the ocean. And this is the first time where we see humans actually interacting in the ocean. They're swimming, they're scuba diving or snorkeling, they're swimming with turtles. So Carnival decided to pair this idea of people interacting in the ocean with this idea of we have the same percentage of salt in our blood as there is in the ocean. And then it goes on to this idea, this older couple who, as an audience, we presume have been married for a while. Maybe they're on an anniversary cruise. They've made it through life. And how do you make it through life? Through blood, sweat, and tears. And so it's an interesting rhetorical choice by Carnival to mirror this couple with this idea of blood, sweat, and tears. And if they're happily married and they're smiling at each other, and their hands are being held, and so they're connected to each other, but it also mirrors this idea that we are connected to the ocean. And then Carnival goes on and talks about going back to the sea, whether to sail or to watch it. And then it finishes the speech with this same image that it started this advertisement in. Just this open shot of the water, going back to where we came from. And then 50 minutes into the commercial, 10 seconds left, they end with applause. So 10 seconds of applause. So what do people normally applaud? They applaud because they like something, they appreciate something. People stand up and they clap their hands and like, oh my gosh, that moved me, that made me feel something. And so Carnival purposely spent 10 seconds of a minute at the Super Bowl just having applause because they wanted us as an audience to have that visceral reaction, to have that emotional reaction, to say, you know what? These people are applauding. I should probably listen to this advertisement. And they spent quite a bit of money on this applause. $1.8 million on 10 seconds of applause. So other than storyboarding, there's another way you can look at this analysis. You can look at who shows up in the advertisement. So of the 9 people that we are able to distinguish by gender, 4 of them are females, 5 of them are males, 8 of them are Caucasian, and 1 of them is black. So what does that tell you about who the probable intended audience of this advertisement is? Well, probably males, and more than likely they're Caucasian. Why? Well, probably Carnival has figured out that that's primarily who buys their tickets and buys passage on their ships, but it's also because of where this advertisement was shown. It was shown at the Super Bowl, first advertisement for Carnival. Largest number of views, males, families, everyone. Most times we think about football players, people that watch in the stands are primarily white males. Whether that's true or not, their Carnival is playing on that stereotype. They were also really smart on picking the Super Bowl because it was shown on February 1st, 2015. And this is in the middle of winter. This is when people are ready for winter to be done. When they think of cruises, they think of sandy beaches and sunshine and warmth and tans and tropical locales. They're not thinking about snow. They're not thinking about cold and freezing. So they were really, really smart. Also, they were also mindful of how much it costs. It cost $4.8 million for a 30-second spot this year at the Super Bowl. So Carnival spent over $9 million just to get this very particular audience at this very particular time to look at their advertisement. So who was the voiceover? The person who did the speech was John F. Kennedy. He was the 35th president. He was the only Catholic president ever in the history of presidents for the United States. Nobody before him has been Catholic. Nobody since has been Catholic. He's also an avid sailor, as his Life magazine cover will let you know. He's also part of the Kennedy family. The Kennedys are royalty in the United States, especially political royalty. Oftentimes, the word Camelot is associated with Kennedys. So that Carnival was very smart in aligning themselves with the Kennedy name and the Kennedy voice and that persona, that brand. So the speech was given on September 14th, 1962. It was an America's Cup speech. So America's Cup is this huge yachting race, sailing race. And so again, Carnival was very smart. They aligned themselves with this prestigious yachting race. The sound of it is kind of old-timey because, really, the speech was over 50 years ago. And there's this idea of applause. Looking at the text that shows up on the advertisement, there's only 5 real words that the audience pays attention to. The final scene is, brands and names of the 9 companies that Carnival Corporation owns, but nobody really pays attention to that. They're looking at these 5 words. Come back to the sea. So they were very purposeful in their font. It's in all caps. There's no way of mistaking what these words are, what these letters are. There's no serif font. It's just bold. Carnival chose white as the color that they wanted to use. Why? Because white signifies purity, and cleanliness, this ethereal idea. So they were very smart in the font that they chose and the color that they chose. But it has this idea of, if we're coming back to the sea, why did we leave? Well, there's 2 reasons that Carnival kind of uses. One is a PR move. Why have people left the sea? Well, because Carnival hasn't been doing too terribly well in keeping people happy on the sea. People are dying. They're being stranded in the middle of the Gulf. They're having some of their amenities aren't working, like toilets. People have been calling the cruises nightmares. And in fact, 8 of the last 10 major cruise ship disasters in the last 10 years have been happening on cruise ships and cruise lines that Carnival owns, one of those 9 cruise ships and cruise lines. So they have this PR thing, and people have left because they don't want to have a really crummy cruise. There's also another reason that people have left the sea, and that's because of evolution. The way that they have spliced this speech together, the way that they presented it, really makes you think about evolution, about the fact that the human race comes from this primordial ooze that we come from the ocean. And so they talk about biology, and they use these words to say, you know, this is part of what we are. We need to go back and connect with that. Well, there's a problem. Remember, John F. Kennedy is Catholic. Catholics don't believe in evolution. They believe in creationism. So it's created this kind of furor on the internet. There's conversation, this dialogue, this huge backlash. And Carnival was kind of smart in doing this because where there is conflict is where people keep on talking about that advertisement. So they were very savvy in this. When in actuality, this speech isn't about evolution at all. Remember, it was given at the America's Cup. It's the first year that U.S. domination was challenged in this race, and it was challenged by Australia, an island in the middle of a sea and an ocean. And Kennedy, in his speech, he talks about, he uses words like friends in peace, relationships, friends in war. And when he says we all came from the sea, he's not talking about the human race. He's talking about Australians and Americans. Both countries have come from the sea, and we've joined in the sea. And so it's creating this idea of this close relationship between Australia and the United States. So for JFK, it was a really savvy political move that he did. It's an even savvier advertising move by Carnival, creating this contention and this idea of coming from the sea and this evolution. So mirroring the images and the words and the sound, there's a subtext. There's this layer of messages that are being sent in this advertisement. So it's this idea of progress and moving. Remember, we talked about people looking to the left. Well, now everything was moving towards the right. So there's this looking towards the future, this passage of time, this wisdom and longevity. So ultimately, the argument is that Carnival is evolving and moving forward. They're moving on from those problems that they've had in the past of killing people and, their ships breaking down, things like that. They've been around for a long time, and they're going to be here for years to come. And really, ultimately, the subtext, what they're selling, they're not just selling passage on their cruise ships. They're selling this idea, this promise, that if you as a person go on a Carnival cruise, you're going to feel connected to the past, the present, and the future. Everything's intertwined. And by coming back to them, by being able to come back to the ocean and experience the ocean through Carnival, you as a human being are going to be able to move forward and continue to move forward. And that's really what Carnival is selling. All right, so that is the end of my presentation. It's about 12 minutes. Hopefully, like I said before, this will give you an idea of what I'm looking for. Remember, advertisements are subjective. A lot of opinion is in here. There's a variety of layers of context, subtext, visual images, and things like that. So there is no one perfect and right way to analyze these. It's just your way and your opinion. And I hope that each and every one of you really comes to this presentation within your groups with some really interesting ideas. I'm excited to listen to them and see them. Can't wait. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.